All right, friends, let's find our Tadasana or mountain pose. We're bringing the feet about hips distance apart, parallel to one another, and finding a gentle bend in the knees so that we are not locking through the legs. Opening through our heart, relaxing our shoulders, and possibly bringing hands to heart center. Let's take a nice, slow, deep breath. Feeling the crown of our head lengthening high as our feet root down towards the earth. Preparing for our first yoga posture for strength here by bending the knees deeply and finding a chair pose. So showing a few different options here. Either way, we have a nice bend in the knees, hinging from the hips and finding a long line in our spine. Now you might bring the hands forward right in front of you, spreading those fingers wide, feeling some energy between the palms. That's a great place to start. You might also wish to find more of a traditional chair pose, bringing the feet closer together and swooshing the hands up at a diagonal, finding one long line from the fingertips to the tail. Possibly bringing big toes to touch, sinking a little bit deeper with some space in between the heels. And then as you're ready, releasing down, we'll step our feet back, finding a downward facing dog. Fingers are spread wide, hands pretty wide apart. Keep those feet wide apart to start as well. And let's warm up the backs of the legs and the feet by bending one knee and then the other. So we're really going on a journey throughout the physical body today and finding some foundational yoga postures that help build strength. So downward facing dog, lots going on here. We're really engaging through the arms and the legs, lifting the tailbone high. Don't worry too much about straightening the legs. Let's prioritize a long spine here. And every time we find our yoga posture, we're finding that slow, deep belly breath, taking as much air in on the inhale as you can, slight hold at the top. And as we exhale, we really let all that air go, getting empty and finding a pause at the bottom. Transitioning, moving on to plank. So again, I will show a few different options here. Here's traditional plank, shoulders over wrists, really pressing back through the heels. And of course, you have the option to drop the knees towards the earth as well and modify that plank. So wherever you are, we're finding that strength. We're finding 5 slow, deep breaths in and out here. Plank, of course, so good for our core, but we're also engaging the arms and the legs here and really finding that long line in our spine, whether the knees are up or down. Taking a slow, deep breath like it's easy. And then from here, we'll begin our journey down to the ground. Option to drop the knees, slowly lowering. Take your time. Deep breath in and exhale all the way down. Elbows graze the ribs. Very good. Flattening the tops of the feet to the earth. Let's find a low cobra or a baby cobra here. So we're strengthening through the back here. We forget about our back, but let's find that strong back here. Gentle tuck of the chin, just to find a neutral spine. Lengthening through the neck. Now you might also wish to float the hands off the mat just a little bit and really find your true low cobra here. Every inhale floats us up a bit. Every exhale, we settle into the earth. Just finding some natural movement with the breath. Let's take a release and big push up and back. Finding a child's pose. Sitting back towards the heels, relaxing the forehead on the earth. And find that slow, deep breath once more. Transitioning to hands and knees, and we'll find a side plank. So back to core, really emphasizing the obliques here and getting a nice stretch. I've got my bottom knee lowered. This is option 1. If you'd like to try more of an intermediate side plank, we could switch the top foot forward to the earth and straighten that bottom leg. So that's a nice intermediate option here if full side plank is too challenging. Bring the top foot, bending the knee, stepping in front of that bottom leg. And of course, if you'd like to go for that full side plank, stacking one leg on top of the other, I highly encourage looking down, fix your gaze as you transition, and then possibly looking up towards the sky. Finding a slow, deep breath here before transitioning to the other side. So however you want to do that, transitioning to the second side. Highly encourage trying all of these variations, no matter what level you are. Option to lower the bottom knee. Option to step the top foot in front of that knee before straightening the bottom leg. Either way, I'm stacking shoulder over wrist and I'm being mindful of my gaze, making sure I have my balance before I find a more challenging variation option here to look down and straighten that front or top leg rather on top of the bottom leg, full side plank. Such foundational postures, we're not rushing the flow here. We're finding those 5 slow deep breaths or maybe even 7 slow deep breaths. Let's walk it into a nice ragdoll forward fold here before rolling up to standing. Good work, you guys. Let's take it right into some strength work for the legs. Finding a warrior 2 on the right side. Left foot steps back. Arch of the left foot lines up just about with the heel of the right foot. And our torso is centered. Our shoulders are over our hips. And if we choose to lift the arms, we've got some nice energy out through the front arms and fingers as well as that back arm and fingers. And here we are right in the middle, finding our slow, deep breaths. You might imagine pushing the feet away from each other and towards each other, and maybe even doing both of those things at the same time. There's a lot of energy in all directions. We're really grounded through the feet and through the legs here. Let's release, switch the feet facing the opposite direction as we find warrior 2 on the second side. Again, lining up the arch of the back foot with the heel of the front foot, centering through our torso. Lots of energy out the arms, out the fingers, but keeping some nice relaxed shoulders away from the ears. Face muscles are calm and relaxed, and we're focused on the breath. Focusing on the power of the legs, our core, some stillness and energy all at once. Let's take another breath here. And then as you're ready, let's go ahead and release, finding the first side. So this time we're stepping into a warrior 1. There is some distance between the feet, both front and back and from the center. So imagining your feet are on railroad tracks here. We're no longer one behind the other on a balance beam. Each foot has its own track and we're squaring off the hips towards the front. My core is working here, but I'm still open through the front body as I reach my hands overhead, optional here for warrior 1 arms. So noticing that back foot, heel is grounded, really slicing through that outer edge of the back foot and lifting up through the arches of the feet. So much going on here, more than you could even really realize just from looking from the outside. Let's transition, stepping the back foot up towards the front and then reverse. So again here, each foot on its own railroad track, feet are grounded, pointing forward. Got a 12 o'clock in the front foot and a 2 or a 10 o'clock depending on your positioning in that back foot. Squaring hips towards the front, opening through the chest, and option to reach and lengthen, energizing up through the arms and the fingers, perhaps looking up towards the sky. And once you find that beautiful, classic, ancient shape in the body, we bring the attention always back to the breath. Full inhales, slight pause at the top, and deep full exhales, Slight pause at the bottom. Beautiful. Let's take our hands back down to the mat, stepping to plank pose as a transition. Big breath in here and exhale, slowly lowering to the earth. Our one and only vinyasa here. Inhale, low cobra, lifting, strengthening through the back body. And then exhale, release the torso down, push up through hands and knees, and sink it into our child's pose, Balasana once more. Using this opportunity to relax, perhaps bringing forehead on the hands, stacking the hands underneath our head as we soften through the hips and the low back. Taking a couple deep breaths here and transitioning as you are ready, finding a seat. So breathing deeply through this transition, we're sitting tall and then leaning back to engage the core, finding boat pose. So showing multiple options here again. Option to lift the heels, keep the toes grounded. Option to float the feet a little or a little bit more. You might also want to play with letting go, reaching the hands out or up, and possibly even straightening through the legs as well. You can practice one foot at a time, or go for both legs starting to straighten up. If you have the mobility in the hamstrings, we might bind the big toe with peace fingers. Here I'm practicing one at a time. And then if it feels good to you, lengthening through both legs. Now wherever your boat is at is perfect. Again, we're just finding 5 slow breaths in a challenging place. And then let's release that down to the mat. Great work. So finishing with one more powerful posture here, bridge pose, bending the knees until we can just graze the heels. Feet are parallel underneath the hips, and we begin that journey of rolling, really engaging through the glutes here, backs of the legs, back body, option to shimmy those shoulders a little closer underneath you. And again, if you have the mobility, perhaps grasping the hands. What's important here is we're not collapsing through the neck. The back of the neck is remaining arched. We're keeping that natural cervical curve. Base of the skull and shoulders are grounded, but the back of the neck is lifting just like the rest of the back is lifting up. Finding that slow yogic breath here. And then as you're ready, relaxing through the shoulders, widening through the upper back. And slowly coming back down to the earth. Take your time, moving slow, before straightening the legs and finding what many experience as the most challenging yoga posture of all, Shavasana, or final resting pose. Feel free to have one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, or relax your arms by your sides or overhead. Now, if you're doing this practice at home, I encourage you to pause the video now, take a few minutes here before ending in meditation. But even if you just have a couple minutes, make sure you relax your body completely from your face all the way to your toes. And as you are ready to come back into your day, hug your knees into your chest, roll to one side in a fetal position, and slowly begin that journey back to easy seated pose. Gently walking your way up with your arms. Take your time. Thank you so much for joining me for this practice. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.